We were both kind of burned out.
Yeah.
So they're more energy
Yeah, I
efficient?
worked with her like
Just don't
90%
rip
of the
it.
time for all the years. She was excellent.
You still have to figure it out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she always took care of me just like that.
That's good.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was great. I've only been into this new office once, but they were fine. Yeah, they did okay. So, happy on the microphone.
Your title, Director of Public.
Commissioner, how are you? Good to see you. Hey, Dan, how are you?
Okay.
I haven't seen these
You have
people
two titles.
in months. Jobs.
Well, you also are CG.
I guess I see Charlie.
PE.
I just read where you signed it. You've had PE in there as well.
So is she on up there?
No, none of them are. You know.
Well, Cripple Creek PD. Take care of
Yeah, I mean, if they have this kind of issues,
Okay.
Yeah.
they'd only have to call them. She's been up there now 8 months, I guess. And they've only had to call PD twice.
Oh, good. All drunk. Yes.
A lot of drugs.
I'm Marshall at the Belly Open. The only time we call the sheriff for the Lake PD. Drunks.
You gonna have any corrections to the minutes?
No,
I just wondered. I'm gonna plan
I'm
ahead.
an easy guy. Just, there you go.
If it gets the gist of it, but. Now, Tom, on the other,
He probably even read them.
Great
You
energy.
didn't?
someone
did.
probably left a comment. That you want to comment on?
No, that was Skank. Skank was more in punctuation.
Skank didn't hold a candle to George Parkhurst.
Oh,
Holy mackerel. He'd go through everything.
gee. what do we do with
Oh,
this?
my.
Sorry to get the March report out. Good for her. Jeez. Single family.
Sally, did you see Eugene?
No, I did not.
Do we have to wait till 7? Wait, so,
Should be close to saying.
okay. Wait.
It's nice that you're all here early.
7 o'clock, lock the door. Let us call to order the Woodland Park City Planning Commission. And we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance to get us started.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chair,
Approval of the minutes. Do we have any discussion on,
excuse me, Mr. Chair, if I could do roll call, please.
oh, we're all here.
Okay.
No, not quite. Oh, there it says roll call right there. Okay.
Thank you. DeVoe,
Here.
Watson,
Here.
Schrader,
Here.
Rollinger,
Present.
Mattingly. Here. Probst.
Here.
And Vogel.
Here.
Mr. Chair, we do have a quorum
meeting with 8 members present.
There was always one guy in high school that would say present. Do you remember that? There must be one guy who would do that. Just to mess the future up. Any questions on the minutes? Previous minutes? Anybody have any corrections, additions, deletions?
I would like my name spelled correctly in the minutes in the future.
Oh, I'm sorry, sure, we will make sure that's correct.
You wanted to see if I read them, didn't you?
Do we have a, let's see, you guys never want to do a second on this and all that stuff. Do we have an acclamation for the minutes as corrected?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Done.
You got it done the right way. Okay. Requests and/or public hearings. Case FHDP 13-001, the East Fork of Fountain Creek. Request for approval of a flood hazard development permit to construct a 72-inch reinforced concrete pipe storm sewer that is located within the special flood hazard area of the East Fork of Fountain Creek, as requested by the City of Woodland Park. The storm sewer improvements, approximately 900 linear feet, are located within the vacant portion of Midland Road right-of-way drainage easement on Lot 1R, Block 3, plat of property of C.D. Weaver Subdivision in Teller County, Woodland Park, Colorado, more specifically 311 East Sheridan Avenue, Woodland Park, Colorado. And at this point, Sally Riley, Planning Director, is going to present this.
Yes, thank you. This is a portion of our community that is part of the East Fork, but before I get into the details, I did want to share with you a little terminology about flood hazard, special flood hazard areas. They were mapped in 1988 in Woodland Park on both the south and the north side of the town. These special flood hazard areas are managed or mapped by FEMA, the Federal Emergency Agency, and they are managed locally by the town, and Title 20 of our code models the FEMA requirements for construction either within a special flood hazard area, within the floodway or the flood fringe, or if a stream channel which needs to be modified, then there are a set of rules and regulations with which that is approached. So this can get to be a little bit of alphabet soup when we talk about floodways, so I just wanted to give you that first little overview of how a special flood hazard area is looked at in the community. Here is the map of an aerial that shows the flood insurance rate map, those firm maps. This area was modified, Fountain Creek was modified after a letter of map revision was completed by the city in 2009. And the area with which we're going to be talking specifically about is circled in yellow. That is the East Fork portion of Fountain Creek. And this floodplain begins up by the high school in front of Gateway Elementary School, and much of it now is all underground, piped in a storm sewer system. And right now there is an underground system that then daylights almost right behind or adjacent to the Eagle Fire Lodge and the vet area. Here's a closer aerial of that area. Right now the East Fork somewhat meanders from the north down behind the vet area, and you can see that the veterinarian, they are still outside the city limits. That's what the large black hash mark is. And meanders down to a confluence just south of the property that is proposed to be developed with the Trail Ridge Apartments. And then you can see the main fork of Fountain Creek with a darker blue line that is just to the west of the former Whispering Pines Mobile Home Park and will be soon to be developed with 168 apartment units in 7 buildings plus a clubhouse, the Trail Ridge Apartment Project. So you can see the yellow line is where the new piping will be installed. This will be within the old Midland Road right-of-way, much of which has been vacated, but we have retained a utility easement for drainage and other utilities. There is water in this easement, a water line, as well as the force main for the sewer to be pumped back up over the divide. Here's some photos before we get into the technical side of the plans. Wanted to share with you the existing conditions that are in this area. This is that existing pipe on the northern end that daylights just a little bit south of Eagle Fire. And then you can see the eroded channel looking north upstream from this property. So this will all be removed and placed underground. This is looking downstream, a little bit right behind the vet's office, looking to the south. And then this is further downstream, almost where the confluence is. But once again, you can see the erosion and debris that's in this creek that will be all repaired. This is looking toward the west, where we do have the confluence of the main stem and the East Fork. And then this is where the grades somewhat flatten out, and right behind Safeway, the channel heads down to the south. A flood hazard development permit is required for any property owner or development that is doing work within that special flood hazard area. And the Planning Commission is authorized to review these proposals. That is actually a requirement that is above and beyond what FEMA's regulations are. I think this community allowed or felt that was important for the Planning Commission to have a chance to look at these permit requests. And I think that it also allows us to be able to notify the neighborhood of this work that is being done and giving them an opportunity to be able to speak if they would like to make comments on this work. In your packets, you received the East Fork Fountain Creek Storm sewer design. This is the flood prevention plan that lays out specifically the design of the work that will happen. This is the northern section, what we call a plan and profile. So the plan is kind of from bird's eye view, and the profile shows the depth of the pipe and how it will be installed per the grades. That's the northern section, and then the southern section of this approximately 900-foot improvement. The pipe is 72 inches in diameter, and then toward the end here it will widen out into an 84-inch pipe, and there's also some ripples in that pipe that will try to slow down the water before it leaves the containment. The goal here is to capture the 100-year storm so that it will be totally contained within this pipe. And as a result of that, then a letter of map revision will be submitted and the floodplain will be eliminated from this area. The other two plans that I wanted to point out is a requirement for an erosion control plan. This also functions as the landscaping plan because this area will be all reseeded after the work is done. The erosion control plan is in order to prevent sedimentation from leaving the site and going downstream and continuing to fill the creek bed with sediment. And as I said, it will function also as the landscaping plan due to the reseeding. However, as soon as this project is completed, the construction is done and installed, then the construction will begin for the Trail Ridge Apartments. Here, this is the grading plan for Trail Ridge Apartments, which you can see the connection will be made a little bit further north here to the existing pipe, and then come down to the south within that road right-of-way, the vacated road right-of-way, and connect into the main stem. So that will straighten this out and remove all that eroded creek bed. This application complies with the general standards and the specific standards of the flood hazard development permit. These improvements are designed to contain the 100-year storm within the pipe, and mention that the LOMAR, the letter of map revision, will remove the special flood hazard area. With that, staff would recommend approval of this application. And we have Mr. Bill Alsbach here this evening, who is been working with URS, who did complete the design and will be the project manager for this piece of storm drain work.
Thank you, Sally. Sally put the staff's position on. That's what you just presented to us. This actual application is being presented to be approved by the City of Woodland Park. It's in conjunction with that whole drainage problem. I think we've got some monies, and Bill, you probably can talk about that. And Bill is the Director of Public Works. He is our city engineer, and he's a project engineer on this project. So, Bill, if you are ready, come on up.
Good evening. I don't have any other to add to Sally's presentation other than just some pertinent facts. This project has been underway for several years. The Trail Ridge Apartments is a more coincidence of its beginning with this project, but we've been working on this project in the main stem for several years. We did manage to partner with CDOT, Colorado Department of Transportation, who's providing some funds for this project because some of this drainage comes from Highway 24, and so we're leveraging their funds and been moving forward with this. It's been in design for about 2 years. We're getting now to the point where we're nearing the point to start construction, so it's time to get the flood hazard development permit. So, what questions might I answer?
I have a couple of questions. You are sort of redirecting that channel when you put in the pipe. Are there property owners, business owners, or so forth that are affected by that realignment of the creek? And are there easements impacted? What's the story there?
The pipe is all contained in the existing Midland Road easement. That was a constraint. We don't have any right-of-way in there. We had to keep it within the easement.
Okay, I know Sally said it was on the abandoned Midland Road, but I didn't know for sure if, when you aligned it differently, if that impacted neighboring properties.
It's all within the existing easement.
Mr. Erlinger.
Well, what's the approximate cost of the project?
Between $600,000 and $700,000.
And how much of that will the city bear?
Well, CDOT's paying $250,000. The balance to be paid for by the city.
Okay. Has this been put out for bid yet?
No, sir.
Will go out soon?
As soon as CDOT cuts me loose.
Yeah, yeah. And you expect that'll be a local, by local, I mean, Front Range company that would be doing the work? Is there-
Typically it is. It'll be a free and open bid. It'll be advertised on the city's website and in the local newspapers to comply with CDOT's requirements for advertisement. So it could be a Woodland Park contractor, it could be someone from Denver, it could be someone from Pueblo or Colorado Springs.
But at any rate, well, I was thinking about the economic impact. It's a fairly sizable job, and it would be, it'd be nice to have some of those dollars flow into some of these local counties, and it sounds like it will.
Absolutely, but we can't restrict competition because
Understood.
CDOT's requirements
Well,
are pretty open.
I suppose I wouldn't have been delighted to hear, well, we're looking at a company in Kansas, or
Typically, that hasn't happened on any CDOT job I've been ministered in the last 7 years.
Is there any negative impact, do you think, downstream, in terms of the quantity of the flow, or this speed of the flow as it goes? I guess it basically would go behind Safeway and then continue south?
The quantity of flow is not going to change necessarily. The flow depends on how much rain falls upstream and is collected in this system, so the quantity of flow isn't going to change any. Will there be changes behind Safeway? Potentially, because we're changing some of the geomorphology here and impacting some of the sediment balances here. But we're aware of that, and that's why we know that our next challenge, because we're just chasing this challenge down Fountain Creek, is to reach behind Safeway and then down towards Walmart. But we're eating the elephant, so to speak, one bite at a time.
Got it.
It's not the most ideal situation to put water in pipes. It's not my preferred or first solution, but in an urbanized environment here, with the constraint of the easement, we're pretty tight. So it's always nice to have things in natural, meandering, wandering channels. We just don't have the room or space here.
Mm-hmm. And clearly, this is an expensive proposition at, what, about $1,000 a linear foot, roughly?
Close to that.
Yeah, or pushing it.
And we'll be back in front of you probably next month with the Main Stem project, which is an even bigger project. But it's exciting. Because as you see the pictures here, I mean, it's obvious the issues and problems that are going on here, and we cannot continue to let that continue and impact the water quality and the landowners downstream. We need to be proactive in fixing these things. Plus, in this corridor, both corridors, the East Fork and the Main Stem, we have critical infrastructure. We have sewer lines and sewer force mains that service the whole eastern part of the city that are at risk in a flood event. And if we have a flood, we could lose those sewer lines. That's why we're doing these projects. It's really the motivation here, to address the erosion and protect those critical infrastructure lines that are there.
Great, thanks.
Sure.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment, just from an insurance standpoint. If that floodplain is removed, if there's any property owners in the floodplain, you will no longer have to have flood insurance, and it could save you $500, $600, $700 a year.
That's why Sally and I have been aggressively tackling these floodplain issues and getting the maps revised to adequately and appropriately mimic what's out there on the ground, so that these improperly or changed conditions are no longer on the maps and people are taken out of the floodplains.
I have just a curiosity question.
Sure.
The relationship between the Trail Ridge and this project, I guess Trail Ridge could not start construction until this was done?
Well, I won't go as far as say they can't start construction. There's certainly some things they could start doing while we're doing this project, but it's going to take a lot of close coordination. As you see from the grading plan that Sally had up there, they intend to have some structures and parking lots over this pipe once they build things out. But like I said at the beginning, this project started long before that project was even on the plate. But it will take some pretty close coordination and some opportunities for the two contractors to cooperate and work together.
Thank you.
Bill, on the other project, which is the main
The main stem?
that crosses there at Sheridan, okay, that you can probably drive a pair of semis side by side down through there. It seems that's more money again. That's not the 600,000 or 700,000.
That's correct. That's a $2.1 million project, and we've received a FEMA pre-disaster hazard mitigation grant for that project.
And we're going to get a substantial amount of money, I believe, from them for that, aren't we?
$1.6 million.
Okay. And we've had some pressure from the downstream folks. When we used to have rain in the summertime.
It'll come back.
This stuff would come back and it would inundate Manitou Springs, and all the houses would be underwater. And then you'd get a lot of silt down there by Walmart that's out of our purview, but that goes into counties when it fill those bridges up there down by the Wishing Well Motel or what it is down there. So this will solve all of that eventually.
Well, I won't say this will solve all of it. This will solve a piece of it in these two reaches. But it won't solve all of the problems.
It'll solve the problem within the city limits of Woodland Park, for the most part.
Well, the city limits continue all the way down by Walmart. We still got a long ways to go. We got several issues between where this project ends and where those city limits are. But like I say, it's one step in the right direction. It's a complex system. It all has to work and be looked at comprehensively. You can't just look at one piece of it. And that's what we've been doing for the last several years. So
that fountain, the Fountain Creek, small Royal Gorge there will get all filled in.
yeah, when it's all said and done on the main stem, we're kind of digressing from this project, but on the main stem, which is to the west of this East Fork project, when that's all done, that's going to be a box culvert, and it's pretty interesting what we're going to do there hydraulically. But when that's done, that'll be a box culvert. It'll be covered up, and it'll be a linear open space with the part of the American Discovery Trail coming over the top of it. So it'll take what's a horrible eyesore and a big risk to our critical infrastructure and turn it into an amenity, and it'll be pretty nice when it's done. So stay tuned, because I'll be back in a month or so to share that one with you.
Does Teller County have any plans for beyond the city limits for that floodplain?
Not that I'm aware of at this time, but we confer with them. We conferred with them on this project and the main stem project, but I don't know of any plans that they have to do any improvements.
Any other questions? Sally or Bill? Thank you.
I'm sorry, John, could I just ask a question? As far as Teller County is concerned, so we don't have to be concerned of what the city does going into what Teller County does?
Well, I'm not sure I understand your question. I mean, we're always coordinating with them, but what they do in their reach, I mean, we communicate, but I can't tell them what to do. But when they start working in their portions of the creek, we'll certainly be working together. I have a project on the back burner here to do a study of the entire reach from Walmart all the way up here, which includes the county section. And we need to study that. We need to understand what the issues are. We need to look at what the potential fixes are, and we'll certainly share that with them. And then as these projects move forward, then they can go hand in hand. But we're in coordination and communication with the county, but I can't influence what they do.
Well, a couple of years ago, the county failed to comply with FEMA, and they didn't do the flood maps, and consequently, you couldn't get flood insurance in Teller County. And, that's a concern if we're going to be doing all of this work, and then you get to the line,
It'll be right in Woodland Park in the city limits, I'll tell you that.
Thank you. Gonna open up public comment next. You're coming up. Okay, no, that's next. Okay.
Anything else? Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, this requires a public hearing. And so to open up the public hearing, we now are going to open up public comment. There's your cue. Come on up here. Come on up here. I'm sorry. You got a map right behind you. You'll be okay. Come on. Everybody's got to go through that.
I'm as tall as the microphone.
It'll pull down. There you go.
Okay, I'm Cindy Estevani. I live at 223 East Sheridan Avenue, Woodland Park, which is the one that's right there at the culvert at the beginning on the west side. The two drainages, I would be the west of the drainage. And I have seen this deterioration, and I've lived there 12 years, since 2000. So, yes, this is a desperate thing that has to be done, and I've mentioned it to Mayor Crane and every mayor thereafter to say we've got a problem. So I guess to say anything about that, thank God we're getting it done, and whatever it takes. And yes, I've had a few discussions with Sally and others about how we're proceeding with the apartment complex, and a little bit big for my taste. But on the other hand, the coordinated effort that all of you are working out is phenomenal to have that many people on board on the same project. So I want to say, hats off to you for that work, because it's necessary. And whatever we're doing, you're doing a good job. So as a concerned citizen, I applaud you.
Thank you.
So number one. Number two, since there is so much water coming through, because we've seen how much water floods from the upper channel into my area, as I understand, or maybe Sally or the other can mention, is this coming into, does it come in and then divert into the east and the west, or does it just go down right now the west side? Because I'm seeing it on the west side, and obviously east is getting some water too, right? So all that water ultimately comes down to one funnel at Safeway? I see your concern of what's going to happen when you get into the county area, because that's a lot of water that I get, and there's water I'm not even seeing on that other channel. So if you're funneling it into one, there is a concern on somehow, I'm just saying, as just a citizen watching this water come down, what do you do with it? Because there's going to be a problem as to the volume. Anyways, I just want to make mention of that, and I think you're already aware of it. Okay, that's number two. Number three is this, you're trying to create this flood zone containment, and yes, you're going to work within your boundaries. But what about the equipment? What about the tractors and the earth movers? Are they going to stay within their contained boundaries, or are they going to be going into public property to be able to make the affected changes?
He'd be a good one to answer that.
Bill can answer.
Well, I think we got to separate the two projects first. The East Fork project, since the easement there is pretty narrow, we will be working with the property owner for Trail Ridge Apartments to probably work outside that easement a little bit, but most of the work will be contained in the easement. For the main stem project, likewise, it's pretty tight, but we think we've got enough room, but we don't have the final plans yet, but the constructability, and that'll be part of the contractor's challenge, is how do you build it? And if you need temporary easements, go get the temporary easements. But basically, the work will be done within the city's property for the main stem, or within the easement on the East Fork project.
Thank you. Okay, so I don't have to worry about I don't have to worry about tractors on my property.
Shouldn't. So.
Okay, I'm going to hold you to that. Because when I'm traveling, I want to know that when I come back, my property is not too disturbed. Because you're aware of where I live.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, yeah, exactly.
You're going to be a great beneficiary of this project when it's all done. You'll love
Okay, well, I think that's pretty much it. I just wanted to express it as a concerned citizen and as well as somebody who's been watching this evolve. And of course, we talked about, too, seeing the changes, but I've heard a lot of neighbors complain about how much earth movement and sound that they had to contend with in that first part. So I can only imagine it's only intensifies because it's literally in our front door. So I know there's going to be motion, sound, and a lot of things. How long is this project anticipated?
Depends what time of year we get started.
Sooner the better. Are we talking a year?
Could be done a year from now.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else like to come up? Hearing no one else, we shall close the public hearing. And there's an opportunity for rebuttal from the applicant if they so desire. Okay, then we're going to go back to us folks to ask any questions, for any final questions about the project. Let me share a small story that'll take a few minutes, but it's interesting, and it'll address some of what you're concerned about there. I used to have the car dealership where People's Bank is. That's the East Fork of Fountain Creek, and there used to be nothing there. You had to go up to the end of the property almost by where the pawn shop is. And you could walk under Highway 24 and come up in a catch basin, because it was a 60-inch, maybe 72-inch culvert, and come up in the middle of McDonald's. Well, in 1996, we had an 8-inch rain. It probably went past a 100-year flood. It took down 40-foot pine trees. It blew out Sheridan Ave that there was no Sheridan Ave. All that water came through two 24-inch culverts at Sheridan that were plugged by a 40-foot pine tree. And the reason that happened was CDOT, in their infinite wisdom, decided to put riprap on that bank to the tune of 100,000 yards or whatever, and they put in they brought in dirty riprap and filled a FEMA flood zone, which is really a no-no. You can't even, not supposed to touch that. And so the result of that was that was a culvert that CDOT paid for. Woodland Park provided the labor. And there were two catch basins, one installed down at Sheridan, another one installed up at the other end. And then eventually that went around and was completed the next section that went behind the motel over there. You can literally go in that entrance there that would be down by the East Fork and walk all the way to McDonald's. And a lot of young kids did, and there were chairs and stuff in there where they must have went to have a seance or something down through there. But this is going to eliminate all of that, because in those areas where it was a FEMA floodway, and down there where you're at in that area, you had to flood-proof any building that you built. In other words, you had to design the building. I mean, all the electrical had to be up, everything had to be up, so if a flood came through, it could actually go through your property or the residence or the commercial and keep on going. That's all going to go away in that area where you're at there. And you're not going to have flood insurance, and it's just going to increase everybody's property value. That eyesore is just going to go away, and everybody's homes along there are going to be worth more money. And that's going to happen. But that's what happened before they fixed that there. And it was interesting to watch all that. Anybody else with any questions? Gotten kind of windy. Okay, we're supposed to begin deliberation now. And if we don't do that, we would encourage somebody to make a motion in a second.
I don't have any objections to do the flood. I mean, we need this done. It should have been done a long time ago. And so I would make a motion to approve as presented to the board for the floodplain.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. The question?
Thank you. Vogel,
Yes.
Probst,
Yes?
Mattingly,
Yes.
Rollinger,
Aye.
Schrader,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
and DeVoe.
Present.
Motion,
Sorry.
that was a yes.
Yes, I had to do that.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and stay tuned, because the story gets even more interesting next time.
When will that be? A couple months?
Oh, Sally's got the application now, so.
Okay. Very
But
good.
as soon as we get the property annexed and all that, we'll be back.
That'll be a great improvement to our city. Big time.
It will be. It's exciting. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you for your staff and yourself, all the work.
We have anything else for reports?
Before we move into the work session portion, I just wanted to note what's on your desk this evening. We have placed the monthly report from March on your desk. Also on your desk are some publications from the Colorado Municipal League and the annual conference brochure is also there. You'll recall that we do have budgeted in our training, travel and training line item, an opportunity for at least one of you to attend the CML conference if you're interested in going to Vail. That will be June 18th through the 21st. Or if no one is interested in going to the Vail, we can carry those funds forward, and in October, the American Planning Association has their conference that Lisa and I are planning to attend in the beginning of October. So just let us know if you are interested in the Colorado Municipal League and their conference in June, or if you're interested in going perhaps to the Planning Association conference in October. That too is in Vail this year.
If anybody has a desire to do that, I've attended those when I was on council at least 3 times. And it really, it's very good and very informative and gives you a lot of information, just even more so than just planning, because you can attend all the work sessions. It's very good. I'm going to be out of town that week. I can't go to that. But
Which one is better? Or are they both the same? Yeah.
Well, I think as far as an overall, I have not been in the planning association, but I think as an overall view of the city and the role of everything going on and what's taking place in Colorado right now and all the different things like that, you'd probably get more of a well-rounded thing at CML, but you wouldn't get as specific to planning. But there'll be parts there. But if we've got money to do that, if one of you want to go, you get a hold of Sally.
Are both you ladies going to the CML conference? No, you're not.
Neither of you are?
Not
It
this year.
would really be good for somebody here to go and then come back and report on that.
I'll be gone.
You're going to it?
I will be gone.
Okay, and that's my problem. I'm out of town. But they normally give you a room. You don't have to double up with somebody, so if you want to take a spouse or something like that, you can do that. And there's a lot of breakout sections that you have to pay for that for your spouse, but it's not very much money. But I mean, it's a really a worthwhile thing to go to. So hopefully one of you will come up with.
What are the dates of it? June?
18th through the 21st.
It starts on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, I think, the first section, and you come back Friday night.
That's all that I have to report. So we can move to the work session if you'd like.
Oh, Sally, could I ask for one thing, please?
Sure.
Since we've had a lot of changes, could we have an updated,
Absolutely,
please?
yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Thanks. Thank you.
Would you like any part of his packet back?
No, sir. You're the final authority on this.
Motion to adjourn the regular meeting, we'll go to the work session.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Yay.
Aye.